Dutch drug policy that damaged a generation, by Felix Yeki. The Netherlands, a country known for freedom, for tolerance, and for coffee shops. But behind that image lies a forgotten story, a generation of young people who drifted, who got lost. Not in spite of drug policy, but maybe because of it. This is a story you rarely hear. A generation gone up in smoke. In 1976, the Dutch government launched a bold policy. Soft drugs wouldn't be legal, but they wouldn't be punished either. The idea? Separate cannabis from harder drugs like heroin. But by the late 1980s, coffee shops had taken over city centers. By 1995, there were more than 1,200 across the country. And suddenly, teenagers had easy access to cannabis, often without ID, control, or limits. What began as a pragmatic approach spun out of control. Impact on youth. Teenagers, some as young as 12 or 13, started smoking daily, not just to relax, but to escape from pressure, poverty, broken homes, boredom. And while some could walk away, others fell deep into addiction, into silence, into the streets. There was no help, no system prepared for this wave of young users. By 1999, nearly 1 in 5 teens in the Netherlands used cannabis regularly, and no one was watching. New segment, migrant youth perspective. Many of the hardest hit were young people born in the Netherlands but from immigrant families. Their parents came to build a life, but often struggled with language, work, and survival. While the system turned its back, their children found identity and belonging on the street, in the coffee shop. The government offered freedom but no guidance, no protection, no future, and so many were left behind, written off before they ever had a chance. But later things changed. A new generation came up, more aware, more supported. Families became stronger. Schools became stricter. The government started checking IDs, closing shops near schools. And the next wave? They learned from the pain of those who came before them. They chose books over the block. And slowly, the tide turned. I don't blame the ones who smoked. I blame the system that looked away, that gave access but no guidance, that offered freedom without care. Some made it out, others didn't. A generation damaged by policy, not by choice. It's time we remember them, learn from them, and protect those who come after. But before I go, there's something I need to say. We called it freedom, but for many, it felt like abandonment. A policy that claimed to be progressive was in reality silence. A silence where thousands of young people disappeared. I remember the faces, at schoolyards, in stairwells, leaning against tram stops, with red eyes, heavy gazes, and hope that dimmed a little more every day. They weren't criminals. They were kids. Kids who lived in a system that treated them like adults. That offered freedom, but never asked, "Are you okay?" To the outside world, it was a success story. Tourists laughed. Guides bragged about the Dutch model. But we knew better. We saw the bodies that looked like shadows. The minds shutting down just to survive. And where were the social workers? The schools? The politicians? They watched, sometimes, but they didn't see. They called it soft drugs, but the damage was anything but soft. What's soft about a generation stripped of self-worth, of direction, of future? I don't speak out of bitterness. I speak from grief, from loss, for friends I never got to grow old with, for chances that never came, for lives that never began. Some still call it a choice, but if you never had real choices, was it ever freedom? And still, I believe in change, not through bans or fear, but through care, real guidance. So the next generation will be seen, will be heard, will be protected. So the next generation will be seen, will be heard, will be protected. Because a society isn't measured by its freedoms, but by how it treats its most vulnerable. So if you're hearing this, whether you're a parent, a teacher, a policymaker, or just a person, don't look away, listen, and ask. Because right now, there might be someone just like I once was, someone who still has time to be saved, by a look, a word, a gesture. And maybe you're the one who makes that difference. Sometimes I think back to the boys who were brighter than me, softer, full of dreams. They could have been painters, teachers, fathers, but the streets were hungry, and the coffee shops never closed. We called it normal, a joint after school, a joint before bed, but normal became daily, daily became survival, and survival became silence. The 80s and 90s, they weren't a phase. For some, they were the end. We lost a generation, not to war, not to disaster, but to policy, to neglect, to the myth that freedom needs no guidance. And maybe you're part of that generation, or you knew someone who never made it out. Let their stories echo, let their names be spoken, because only when we name the loss can we break the cycle. And maybe, just maybe, we still have time to rewrite the ending. My name is Felix Yeki, nature lover, but also a realist. This is my story, and maybe it's yours too.